You've landed on the Databits channel, and today we're going to show you 3 amazing historical electronic items that you may in fact have in your closet and didn't know it. Starting left to right, we have the Sony electronic book player. It's the DD150. Then we have the Minolta Master Series C 3300 VHSC camcorder. And again, to the far right, we have the Bearcat 4.6 police scanner. Also shown here is the Minolta cassette adapter AD-2, and we'll show you how little tapes can become big tapes. So, stay tuned. Our first item we're going to review is this Bearcat 4.6 scanner. This unit was manufactured in 1978 and allowed you to pick up fire and police as they were broadcasting through the airwaves. So you could essentially listen in on their conversations. Well, according to a patrolman that I happen to know, he said that all those frequencies nowadays are encrypted. So maybe you could pick up an older station that happens to be using an unencrypted signal. But in most cases, you're not going to pick up much on these in your local area, or it's going to be spotty. So here's the features of this unit. Of course, it does have this telescoping antenna here. Well, I guess it's not telescoping. It's just kind of hanging out here. It does have a place to connect an external antenna right there. And then you have all the different channels represented here from 1 to 6. Each one of these channels is representative of a crystal that's plugged into the back of the unit. Now, not a crystal like a crystal ball or a crystal glass, but in fact it may have those materials in it, but in this case it has to do with little cartridges that are plugged in the back that pertain to different frequencies. So at this point in time, it wasn't digital, it was analog, so whatever frequencies you could pick up were dependent upon those crystals. And you could go to your local Radio Shack store and pick up the crystals that you needed to pick up the frequencies in your area. So for this unit here, you have an on-off switch here that turns the unit on. And once you turn it on, the unit begins scanning across all of those channels. Once it detects some conversation on that channel, it will stop or pause on that particular number and begin playing the broadcast. You can manually hit a particular channel if you want. So if there's a particular channel that you like to listen to a lot, you can stay on that one. Think of it as a radio station broadcasting fire and rescue and police information. And then you have this button here, which is your squelch button. Now, squelch does just that. It squelches out the static. So right now, if I turn it up, you'll hear that static. And then as I ease down on the squelch control, you'll notice that it goes away. I put it on scan, and now it just stopped on number 2. Again, there's static on there, so let's back it up some more. And off it goes scanning. On the front, you have some lockout buttons that you can utilize if you want a particular station skipped as far as its scanner goes. You just flip the lockout switch, and then it will skip over those frequencies. So now you can see it is now skipping the 2 that I just switched off. I can switch them back on, and then we'll add them back to its scanning mode. Okay. Again, you can use the switch here to manually switch through and play the ones that you want. In this case, we're going to go around and show you the rest of the features of the unit. It's in this awesome little slip cover here. Take that off. Helps to protect the unit. We have some jacks here on the side. If I turn it around to the back, you can actually see what they are for. You have an external power adapter, you have an external speaker plug, and then you have the charger connector. So if the batteries in it happen to be rechargeable batteries, you would plug your charger in there to charge your batteries. The batteries are contained in this little cartridge here. If I remove the cartridge, you'll see that I have my 4 AA batteries locked in there. And then here's where I received the date on the unit here. So it's September 1978, right inside there. So you place the cartridge back in with the batteries intact, and you can continue on listening to those frequencies. Up here at the top is a little door, and this gives you access to those crystals that we mentioned earlier. So I'm going to remove the battery, or the cover, I should say, not a battery cover. But there you can see the little crystals resting inside there. Each one pertains to a different band. So you got frequencies and you have bands, apparently. I may be saying that wrong, but for example, this one here is 154.400. And then I can, depending on where I plug it in on these pins inside here, is going to determine which band it's on. So there are 3 bands for each crystal. There's L, H, and U, which may stand for low, high, and ultra, perhaps. I'm not an expert in this field, but go ahead and put that crystal back in there. So again, you could go to your Radio Shack store and pick up some extra crystals, pick up the frequencies that you need. But, oh wait, now it's 2016 and Radio Shack isn't open anymore. So you're out of luck. So anyway, the Bearcat 4.6 scanner for tons of fun and exciting listening if it's available in your area. Here again is the Minolta Master Series C 3300 VHSC camcorder. And I don't know about you, but I've never seen a Minolta VHSC camcorder. This was the first one I've seen. I did review a Canon VCR on my channel, which was pretty cool. But this was, again, my first Minolta branded VHSC that I've ever seen. I've actually got 3 VHSC camcorders. I reviewed a SVHSC one on my channel as well. But this one, I just really like the looks of it. I thought it was pretty cool. And in the package, it came with the cassette adapter. So it uses these tapes, but these tapes are actually regular full-size VHS tape that has been packed tightly into a tiny little package. Now again, you don't have as much tape in this particular package as you would a full-size VHS tape, but you get the convenience of being able to make your recording within your camcorder, taking it out of the unit, placing it into this adapter, and then placing the adapter in your full-size VHS machine for instant playback. So that made it pretty cool. So at the time when its competitor, which was 8mm, was out, you always had to hook the 8mm camera up to your television to watch your video, or transfer it off onto your regular full-size VHS machine. But this one allowed you to do it all in one step. So this particular thing here, the battery in it was actually corroded. I had to clean the contacts and get all the corroded stuff out of there. But what you do is you hit this little lever here, and then that pops open. And then you place your VHSC tape inside of there. You close it up, and it very noisily winds the tape inside of this cartridge. So you'll see on the underside here, the reel that's inside of the tape, one of the reels, is actually protruding through this hole here. The other one is a gear-driven part that's actually turning a gear on the bottom of the tape. And you'll see that gear right there. So the other reel, the take-up spindle inside of here, take-up reel, is gear-driven. All right, so it's pulled through the machine that way when it's recording, and then when played back through this, it's pulling it through right there. Pretty clever, huh? Amazing engineering. So the lid on the cassette right here is pulled up and is sitting here. So I'll go ahead and push the tape up here, and you can see it unwind. All right, so again, this is a motor-driven version, and they had versions of this as well that had like a, I don't know, like a turn thingy on it that you actually wound it up in there yourself. But the fancier ones had a battery in them, so this was considered a fancy one, I guess, at that time. There's my Aldi battery inside of there. But now you can see there's nothing in this space since the tape has been removed. So let's take a look at the camera itself. Now that we're over the excitement of the adaptation feature, let's take a look at the camcorder. And my parents had a JVC camcorder when I was in my teens, and I think it may in fact have been made by the same company, or at least had some of the same guts on the inside, because it behaves almost exactly the same. It even sounds the same. So the unit itself is made out of metal, I believe. Maybe this part's plastic, but I don't know, maybe it is plastic. I'll just say this sucker is heavy. Around the front here, you can see the lens here, and then it has a TW here, telephoto and wide there, but then there's also another one here on the top. And when I was testing the zoom feature on the unit, I noticed that it didn't actually zoom on its own. So I don't know if there's something wrong with it or there's some kind of trick to doing it. But again, it's kind of strange to have two of those controls. The top of the unit has these VCR controls, as you see here. So we have the rewind, play, fast forward, eject, pause, and stop, standard controls. Then we have an instant review button, so that allows you to go back and preview what you've just recorded. You have your power button here, monitor, record, SP and EP. We have a white balance, mode, and then we have select, memory, and reset. On the top here is your microphone on a nice little isolated rubbery connector there on the top. And then a tracking control back here on the top. Everybody remember having to use their tracking control. All modern VCRs do it digitally, and that control pretty much disappeared on a lot of modern units. On the back here is where you put your battery, and you have an ear jack, earphone, and a remote plug to start and stop the unit. And here's where you power the unit up with an adapter, and it uses a 9.6 volt DC adapter. And we have a battery release button right here. So strangely enough, whoever had this must have set this up easily so that grandma or somebody who wasn't tech savvy could use it, because you can see here there's a 1, a 2, so 1 meaning turn the power on, 2 hit the record button, and then 3 flip it around here and hit the start button there on the side. Your viewfinder is here. It is a black and white viewfinder, and I'll show you that here in a moment. But before I show you that, on the front of the unit here is a microphone jack, as well as this accessory base, which can be removed. Once you remove the accessory base, which was apparently to attach a light, you have access to a lens cover right here on the front. So you can cover the lens and protect the lens from damage. I now have the unit powered up, and we are looking through the viewfinder at a live view of my living room. And we'll move the camera up here towards the ceiling fan, which is kind of bright here. But when I hit this zoom feature, as I was talking about earlier, the thing just kind of goes into blurry land. See there? So I'm guessing there's something wrong with the optics on this unit. So not entirely sure what happened there. It may have gotten dropped or wet or something along the way there. Now let's take a look at what one of the tape recordings looked like played in a VCR. You guys may remember this VCR. I reviewed it on my channel, and it's one I kept. It's a Super VHSC JVC VCR. I'm going to go ahead and put my tape inside the adapter inside the VCR. And off it goes. You are now looking at the most beautiful ceiling fan ever made. This ceiling fan is made by the Ceiling Fan Manufacturing Company of Japan. Isn't it marvelous? Now we will attempt to zoom in on the ceiling fan using the Minolta Master VHSC camcorder. Watch what happens. Well, everything just goes out of focus, which doesn't make any sense. So now we'll zoom back out. As you can see, we zoom back out. It leaves things a little bit out of focus, so I'll zoom back in slightly. Now I'm going to turn off the AEL swept setting. Yep, zooming in still doesn't do anything. There's something strange going on with this camera's optics. Alright, well, it's been fun watching this video. We are now going to fade out. Here we go. I hope you enjoyed that demonstration from a Minolta VHSC camcorder that was manufactured in June of 1987 from Japan. We've now reached the third and most exciting product in this video, the Multimedia Data Discman electronic book player model DD-150, also seen here as the Genius English-Japanese and Japanese-English Dictionary. Now the reason it's called a book player is because it played books that were embedded on compact disc, 3-inch compact discs that were contained inside of a caddy. And there was a multitude of different books that you could get for it. And this unit came out in the early 90s and is the predecessor to a modern book reader, which would be like a Kindle, or some of us even read books on our phones and our tablets now. But back then, there wasn't even a system of doing so other than what you see here. And it's a very expensive product to buy at that time, probably like $500 at the time, which is a lot more expensive than to go out and buy an actual paperback book and read it that way. But the technology is still cool, and it's really kind of like a small laptop. Our little book reader laptop operates on 2 AA batteries. As you can see, I have them inserted here. And with the typical Sony style, you have a connector on the back here for your AC to DC adapter. Over on this side, we have a volume control and a contrast control for the screen, and nothing on the front. And then on this side, we have a headphone jack. Now, strange that a book reader would have a headphone jack. So there must have been some multimedia capabilities of this guy, right? I mean, maybe they weren't kidding when they said Multimedia Data Discman. Okay, so let's open up the unit now and take a look at what's going on the inside. So right now, since we don't have a disc inserted, the unit does not power up. But let's take a look at the keyboard here. You can see there's a lot of Japanese writing on there. So again, this was the Japanese version of the Sony book player, excuse me. And most of the controls happen here with this yes and no. And then your speakers over here on this side. And then you had some navigation controls over on this side. Now let's take a moment to look at the actual disk that the unit uses. So here is a standard floppy disk that you're all familiar with. And here is a mini disk that many of you may be familiar with too, also a Sony product. Well, it's neither one of those. It's in fact its own format, using again a 3-inch CD or an 8-centimeter CD if you happen to be on the metric system. Now the unique thing about this particular caddy that you see here is it's sized almost exactly the size of a floppy disk. So you'd almost think you could put floppies in this thing and have it read it. But that is not the case. All right. And again, it's still bigger than the Sony mini disc. So it makes you wonder, why didn't they just use mini disc? Mini disc was around at that time. They should have just used mini discs as their medium of data. And there was a data version of mini disc. So anyway, take that out of the picture. Here's what we have here. This book here says Genius Sony electronic book. So the general layout of the labels for these was all the same as this. And then you've got a cover that goes over the front of the reading side of the CD. Now the interesting thing is these caddies can be opened. So you press in on this little lever right here, and out pops the actual disc that you can use within the system. And a lot of these discs had multimedia capability. So not only did they have books to be read, but they also had sounds, music, narration, any of that kind of stuff also contained on the disc. So it's really like a computer, like a CD-ROM, right? CD-ROMs had all that. So here's how you insert the disc. So you lift the keyboard up, And as you can see here, there's the insert for the CD itself. And it's very much like a CD-ROM drive on the inside. See if I can get the lighting to change a little bit here. But there's your laser there at the top of the screen and your spindle there for the CD itself. So we're going to go ahead and insert the disc into the slot. Kind of tricky here because it fits up under the lid. Close it up and the system boots, as you can see. And there you go. So you're able to apparently type in your English word, which I don't know if this actually works. Let's give it a try here. So if I type hello, if I knew how to type, and then I hit yes, return. So there apparently is that word nicely identified in Japanese. Okay, even the pronunciation of it right there. So that's the only disc I have with this particular unit at this time. So that's all we're going to learn about here so far. Okay, now here's the cool thing I like about this particular unit. It is in fact a 3-inch CD player. Okay, so in my collection I happen to have a 3-inch 8-centimeter CD single for Foreigner, and I have it in there backwards, don't I? So here is my 3-inch CD single, which it plays just fine. You can see that there. And then I have this cool Coca-Cola Pop Music Volume 3 3-inch CD that apparently was a sampler disc given away with cases of Coke. And let's see, when did this come out? I think this came out, yeah, there we go, 1991, the Coca-Cola Company. So that plays in there as well. And then I used iTunes and created my own CD3, I'm calling it, so that I could play some music that wouldn't get me copyright strikes. So let's go ahead and see what that process looks like. So we're going to take the unit open here. And then we're going to go ahead and take the disc out of this caddy here. And hopefully it just nicely drops out of there. Yep. And then we're going to replace it with my Memorex CDR. Look at that, isn't that cool? It's got blue on the bottom side. Place that in there. And then I can freely demonstrate the music capabilities, which I think are cool. Wouldn't it be nice if it would play MP3 files as well? But that capability is not baked in. So the unit checks the disk. And it does not have anti-skip capability. So the disk will skip fairly regularly. So I'll kick it up a little bit here on the volume. It'd also be nice if it would have CD text capability, since we've got this nice big screen to play it on. Get down here a little bit lower so you can hear the sound quality. I'll switch. Oh, looks like it's having a little trouble reading the disc there. Pretty cool, huh? Right? Sorry, the screen is actually picking up the reflection of my camera there. There we go. That gives us a little bit better view. Going on to the next tune. And that's the last tune that I recorded onto the disc. and I can hit stop right there. And then there's actually some modes here, so I can change my mode to mode 1 repeat, all repeat, shuffle repeat, normal, etc. So that's kind of cool. And strange that when it plays a CD, it's actually communicating in English and not Japanese. But when we're on that disc, it is Japanese. That's the main language. So apparently that language is dependent upon the content of the CD itself. But then again, if this was marketed to Japanese people due to all the Japanese on this keyboard here, you would think that the CD would also show Japanese language as well. But anyway, I'm not Sony's engineer, so I don't know what they were thinking. In any case, I really like this unit. I think it's cool. It's a fun toy to play with. I can make my own little 8cm CDs and play it in there and have some jam sessions on my genius data Discman. There's another version of this that I've seen on eBay, and I got this one off of eBay as well. And it's a big long unit. It's really long and not quite this compact. And you can't hide the keyboard in the screen. It's all on top essentially, but still pretty cool. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this format. I had never seen a Sony Discman in person before, or seen the media that plays on it. So I hope that this was intriguing for you as well. So thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave a comment below. And I appreciate all the comments that I get, and I read every single one. I don't always have time to reply, but I do read them. So please reply yourself to this video. And there's my hand. See you guys.